shouldn't surprise anybody who knows me particularly well at all to hear that I will tell you that I have had quite a while to sort of decide who I am as a person and to act accordingly. That has meant certain adjustments in the way I do business because I realized that I needed to make those adjustments for various purposes that I'm going to get into today when I talk on the subject of Are They That Way on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Wednesday, the 19th of January of 2022. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloutHub. If you happen to see me on Minds, minds.com, probably not going to be the case, or on locals.com, welcome there as well, obviously. Remember that Rumble is my preferred platform. And again, the subject for today is going to be, Are They That Way? This sounds like an odd subject. Let me get into my notes, and hopefully that will help you to understand exactly what it is that I'm trying to say. I'm quite sure many people look at someone like me and think they're seeing some sort of faker. I'm not going to change who I am because of that. I'm going to stay the same. The reality is I've learned over the course of time, frankly, I can be a bit of a jerk. I'll be the first to acknowledge that. It's easy to see at times. The result has been a tendency to try to be more forgiving and understanding on my part, because if I don't do that, I will tend to come off at least as a jerk. I've also come to realize people will feel like you're pulling out your sword in order to attack them if you're overly harsh, and that can include just doing things like giving them facts about things, right? I have to be very careful to do that because a lot of people just don't deal with it well. It almost always makes more sense to be easier going and find ways to question what folks believe rather than telling them what to count correct. My point is this. Maybe those folks you see who you think are being fake, trying to be diplomatic, etc., are really that way. Maybe they're really what it is that you see them trying to be, working to be. Is it possible people like me are just working hard to be a person who deals with the world in a more tactful, reasonable way? Is that possible? It's not that I don't quite strongly believe certain things. Rather, I want to express myself in such a way that people are not triggered if possible. Sometimes you can't avoid it. Sometimes people are going to be triggered and you just have to deal with it. Among other things, it makes it so I don't have to fight as hard to get people to accept me or the ideas that I'm putting forward, the ideas being the more important thing most of the time. You may have heard Dan Bongino talking about how liberals often change direction after being, quote, forced to, end of quote, listen to him by friends or roommates or whatever, right? There's a reason for that, and it's not that he belittles or ridicules people, things, or ideas necessarily. He does at times, and that's a part of the thing. I'm totally okay with him choosing to belittle or to ridicule or whatever. That's his choice, right? He can make that choice. Like me, being more tactful and trying to be reasonable, Dan knows who he is. He knows who he is. He doesn't need me to tell him. Let's not forget, too, people like him for how he acts and speaks. In the same way, I don't ask him to not be himself. I hope others can accept that I'm not going to change who I am because people think I'm putting on airs. It would be different if that were true. It's not. You can be assured it isn't the case. I promise it isn't. I'm not trying to put on airs. I tell you. Maybe at some point I'll lose my patience and start being more prone to ridicule or laugh at folks or ideas or whatever. At this point in my life, that's not how things are going to work. Think I'm being fake? Consider that maybe I'm just that way, and that's almost certainly true for others as well. This is what I felt it necessary to put out there today, is that I think that there are people out there you might look at and say, that person's a fake, or whatever it happens to be. I don't like him, he tends to act in ways that seem smarmy or whatever to me. And I'm going to tell you something. When I was younger, a lot of times I would have thought the same thing until somebody attacked my position and basically destroyed me, right? And I'm not saying a particular person. I'm saying whenever that happened. Fortunately for me, it almost never did, because most people didn't have the dueling capacity in terms of mental acuity to do that to me. right? Most people just didn't have that ability. They weren't able to do it. It was that simple. Funnily enough, I realized that there were certain people who probably could have done better than they did, who intentionally held back on what they did when they were dealing with me. But my point in all of this is simple. Look, there are people out there, and I can find them all day long. Dan Crenshaw, who has been caught a couple of times saying things that he either meant or he didn't, but that, you know, in one case, he basically countered directly, and he would have been better off to say, that's not, I said something, what I said was wrong, what I really meant to say was this, that was my mistake, I'm sorry, you'll have to forgive me, sometimes accidents happen. For the other thing that he said, I think he would have been better off to say something like, I wasn't talking about everybody who was at there in the Capitol on January 6th. I was only talking about the specific, very small group of people who did things that they really shouldn't have done. And I don't really, and he would have been better off to say things too, like, I don't really believe they were insurrectionists. That's not really a thing. They weren't trying to do that. They were just a little bit overly rowdy in their protest. I think he would have been better off doing that. That having been said, the point of all of this is Dan is who Dan is. I was thinking about a politician who seems to be a lady who seems to think herself royalty, right? And so she treats everybody around her like peons and peasants and so forth. I was thinking about another one who is apparently an ogre when you meet her in person. I've never met her. I don't know. And I'm not going to name names, so you don't need to worry about whether or not that's going to come out. You may know who I'm talking about. You may not. She's been in very prominent positions. And in fact, I think there are a couple of ladies who I think I could say this about. And like I say, both of them came across to a lot of folks as horrible human beings who didn't really seem to care very much about the people around them who were supposed to be doing things for them. They didn't seem to care about them. I acknowledge directly that there are people who act in certain ways when they're in the public eye and then change who they are in private. I try very hard to not be that person. Again, I think there's a thing to be said for public virtue, and I try to be more virtuous when I'm in the public eye even than when I'm in private. I try very hard to be virtuous in private as well. I'm not going to tell you that I succeed when I'm on my own. And I'll be the first to acknowledge that there are very possibly people out there who, if they happen to have had cameras on me, could have trained a camera on me and found me doing something that was really not a particularly good thing, and that's most true when I was on my own. And so it may appear to you like I'm some sort of hypocrite, but I promise you that what I'm trying to do is be that better person, and particularly when I'm in a public setting. That's what's going on. And I think that there are a lot of folks out there who are just like that. It's not, when I see Berquist and I laugh at him because he does things that if I were just a little bit more forward and a little bit more open, I'd probably be prone to do myself. But Drew Berquist and I disagree on how you should approach people. Now, who's more popular, Drew or me? Well, the answer is simple. It's Drew. Who's more popular, Ben Shapiro or me? Who's more popular, Dan Bongino or me? Probably substantially so. Even people like Rachel Maddow, more popular than me. Don Lemon, more popular than me. So, am I saying that those people should not be who they are and do what they do, so long as it continues? So long as it's who they are and it continues for people continue to like that sort of thing, I guess that's probably what they ought to do. For my part, I'm working every day, ever more, to become a better person. That's what I want to do. That's who I want to be. I literally want to be a better person on the day I die than the day before if I have enough mental acuity, enough horsepower to do it. It doesn't mean everybody else has to be like me, and like I say, a lot of people are very popular just being who they are. That's how that works. If you don't like that, I'm sorry to tell you that, but that's how that works. Okay, I need to go ahead and wrap things up. This is my second attempt at a video today, and hopefully this one will work like it was supposed to. Didn't have audio on the first, not really sure what I did wrong. It was my fault somehow. I'm not sure how at this moment in time. But anyway, this has been the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Wednesday, the 19th of January of 2022, that middle of the week day. That means tomorrow will be Thursday, the 20th of January of 2022, moving ever closer towards the weekend, and we're very soon going to close out this month. We've only got, 10, 11, 12 or whatever days, not very much longer at all. Thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloutHub. If you happen to see me on Minds, minds.com, that's great too. If I happen to get stuff on locals.com, you can probably check me out there as well if you want to do so. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a boxing glove or a Rumble on Rumble if you choose to do so. You can give me a plus or a minus also on the Rumble platform to show that you like or didn't like my content. Anywhere where I post my content, I'm pretty sure, except maybe the podcast, there's a way to like or dislike, and you might be able to do that if you're checking me out on Apple or Google Podcasts or whatever, but there's a way to like or dislike, and you can avail yourself of that to let me know whether or not you found my content to be worth your time and effort. If you didn't, obviously, there's that dislike. If I post content somewhere and there's a ability to comment on the place where I post my content, you can go ahead and do that. I will try very hard to look at it, particularly if I'm notified of it. I will try and see exactly what it is that you were trying to say, and I will work to figure all of that out. And then if I feel the need, I will go ahead and respond. Subject for today has been, are they that way? And tomorrow we're going to talk about scrambled ideologies, which is basically what I'm trying to say these days, when you say somebody is right-leaning or conservative or left-leaning or liberal or whatever, that isn't necessarily what box people will put you in if you proclaim yourself or if somebody proclaims you to be one of those things. And I want to talk about that a little more tomorrow. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you on Thursday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Wednesday, the 19th of January of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.